What's up, everybody? We are live. Apologies that we are late, but as always, there's gremlins behind the scenes. These things happen to the best of us. And look, we'd like to blame Connor on this one. I usually do, as Steve well knows at this point. But look, it is what it is. We are live now. I do apologise for being a little bit late. I'm joined, of course, by the ever so handsome Steve Bland. So you thought I was going to go for James Redmond there, Steve, didn't you?
I wasn't quite sure which way you were going then. But
Steve, I knew it was you all day, Steve. I knew it was you all day, my mate.
I'll take that.
And the ever so hairy James Redmond. How are we?
That's a very interesting choice of words. Is it because I've got a fringe and that? Fair enough, lad, because I still haven't got my beard, you see. So I don't know, it's still a question whether I've really got the hair there.
I see where he's going, James, because I know what's not hairy.
Yeah, he's got me to a T. Do you know what I mean? He knows. He's been around too long, James. He knows.
I mean, it is a bit today, but I get your point. Anyway, Craig, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we are proudly brought to you in association with our good friends over at manscaped.com. You too can have a head like mine and Steve, but not on your head, down below. You can get the all-new Performance Package 4.0, including the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker Ear and Nose Hair Trimmer, the Ball Toner, which is Steve's personal favourite, the Ball Deodorant, the Boxer Brief, and the Shed Travel Bag, or whatever you want. It's Halloween. Get yourself someone nice in your life. Give them a little gift. WFM20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Steve, you never get tired of this, mate, do you? You love a bit of Manscaped.
I never get tired of it. I'm just going to wonder what Halloween's got to do with it. Are you shaving?
I don't know. They want us to plug Halloween, Steve, so I'm trying to find a way of not saying balls and pumpkins.
Is it like you carve a pumpkin, like facing a pumpkin, you're carving some sort of design on something?
Maybe. A pumpkin shaver.
Initially, when they said to us, have fun with it, I wanted to just get a kiwi and shave it. But then I'd seen that AFTV had already had that brainwave, so I had to try and mix it up a little bit. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, Steve, I'm still trying to find
We can do better than shaving a kiwi. What should we shave next? I mean, that's got to be the first question of...
Well, Jack Gill would have been the answer. Jack Gill was always going to be the answer.
Well, there's not much left to shave on us. There's not much left to shave on us, Craig, so we're probably down to,
Well, you do have that magnificent beard, Steve. It is magnificent.
No, it is. It's top class, that, Steve. Only people like myself dream of a beard like that, so yeah, fair play to you, lad.
Yeah, but you got the head on the top.
I'm going grey,
Steve.
Still. I'm going grey and I can't even grow a beard yet, but I'm still going grey. 40 years of age and I can't grow
Is it grey or is it sun-kissed?
No, it's grey, man. It's definitely grey.
He's like, I've grown it out, Steve, lads. I know what the score is.
Yeah. Where it is grey, it used to be ginger. Now it's grey.
Ooh, that's a bad combo.
Lads, we've loads to get through. Loads. I mean, Van Dijk's banged one in for Holland tonight as well, which, I didn't really want him playing against Gibraltar, but if you've seen his goal, it was tasty. It was typical Van Dijk header.
He's the captain, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, Captain Virgil, my G, bro. Virgil van Dijk is sick, bruv. Lads, I needed to say it in a different accent because, lads, I swear down, do you know what it is about Virgil? I hate the way that already there's this little conversation about, is he back to normal? It's like, mate, he's just came back from a year-long injury and you're already asking it's stupid debate. It's like, why are we debating it? We know he's the best centre-back in the world. There's no need to talk about if he's as good. Besides the Brentford and City game, he's been amazing, mate, and I'm made up he got that goal tonight. And he can get a few for the Reds as well.
Have you seen it yet, James? It was typical.
I haven't seen it. It was at a header. Oh, vintage.
Oh, he buried it. Memphis Depay corner, exactly what you'd expect. And he gets across the near post, bang, past the keeper before he knows what's up.
Beast in the air.
You carry on, but I'm going to get my reaction now because I'm going to get it up on Twitter. So I need to see this.
Is that in the usual way you get it up on Twitter, James, or are we talking about the football?
The tug lad, the footy. This is where, if I miss a goal, I just jump into it. Do you get what I'm saying? Right, let's have a little gander at this then, the boys. So Memphis Depay whips in the ball. As calm as you like, Virgil van Dijk, yeah?
That's pretty good. Did you like that one? Fucking good accent.
Did you like that one? I appreciate it.
That's a quality. I tell you what, you should be acting in those American films where they need an Irish fella, mate, because they always go for some hybrid Belfast country Irish accent that doesn't exist. But that was spot on.
Craig, Irish is in my blood, mate, as there is with all Scousers. It's like we've all got a little bit of Irish in us, you know what I mean? Some ancestors somewhere. I think my Was it me great nan? No, me great nan. It was one of them. Either way, one of them was Irish, so I've got it in me blood, mate. You know what I mean? I think
There you go.
Redmond's an Irish name. I don't know.
It is. It's from Wexford. It's from the county I live in. My mother's maiden name was Redmond.
Oh, there we go.
Tell you what,
there we go.
We're getting a bit of history in there as well early doors tonight. What?
Nah, we're not just football heads, lads. You know what I mean? We can talk about other things.
wait, we're on University Challenge, Steve. Huh?
Yeah, I think that's probably going a step too far.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. Look, lads, there's loads to talk about tonight. I mean, where do we kick it off with? Do we kick it off with Salah or... Actually, do you know what? Since we're talking Holland, Gini. I don't know if you've seen the stories today, but Gini Wijnaldum is... he's unhappy, Steve. He's not happy he's not getting a regular start.
Well, you know what you said is... He's been asked... this is one of those classic... And James, you probably haven't... You haven't heard me bore about kind of working in the media and journalism before. Like... This is what happens when people get asked a question who are generally nice people. They tend to answer it really honestly. And all he's done is he's obviously been asked, are you happy not playing? And what footballer says, yeah, I'm all right with it?
Yeah.
He says, no, I want to play a bit more. So, and everyone writes it up because it's, they can do it that way and that's how it works. They write, oh, Gini Wijnaldum's not happy, blah. He's just been asked the question, are you happy not playing, or would you like to play more? And he said, yeah, well, I want to play a bit more. And it's pretty amazing that he's not really playing that much, isn't it? Given, that Ander Herrera is one of, and Idrissa Gana Gueye is one of, because he's infinitely better than both of those two footballers. So, a bit of a funny one, but yeah. I just think this is what you get when you ask a decent lad and a good footballer a question. You get a pretty honest answer.
I've seen somebody say the grass isn't always greener at PSG where the money is.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, it's one of them. I mean, we talked about Gini, on this podcast, on this channel, till the cows came home last year, didn't we? It seemed that absolutely zero people, either inside the club or outside of the club, wanted him to go, and it'll remain one of the things that we're all scratching our heads about until the end of time, isn't it? I mean, it didn't make any sense at the time. It makes even less sense now, especially given that he's not playing that much. It's just a bit of a funny one all round. So, yeah, I mean, the grass is always greener, but it wasn't like the Coutinho situation where he was really agitating for a move. I never got the impression that he really wanted to go, and he's said that since, hasn't he? So, a bit of a funny one. I feel a bit sorry for him because he should be playing a lot more.
What do you reckon, James? Will he end up back at Newcastle? I read a comment there in the chat tonight going, you're not getting Joao Felix. He's going to Newcastle. Everyone's going to Newcastle.
Hey, it's a shout in their rebuilding process. If Gini keeps not getting game time, then why not, mate? You know what I mean? Might be good for both parties. I mean, it's a weird one when I'm talking about Gini, because I look at him as a legend. I mean, I understand if people disagree. I absolutely really do, because I know you can't just label anyone a legend. But even when I speak to people around Anfield or whatnot who are, 60 years of age, north of 60 years of age, and they're talking about as this side is the greatest they've ever seen, and they have watched some amazing sides. Like, I just think of it as, these players should be labelled as what they are. And Gini Wijnaldum, I wanted them to go to PSG and do well. And the reason why I wanted to see him go there and do well is simply for the fact, not to make it an FSG thing, but I don't think FSG paid him the respect and the homage that someone of that level, who's had the moments that Gini had. He might have not scored many goals, but when he did, it was for a big moment, and it was an effective moment in games. And I just think with how reliable he was, which is something that was evident last season, we didn't really have. I thought he should have been given a new contract and an improved contract, with the fact he was on below 100k a week, which I just think is a joke when you look at Ox's wages, Naby's wages. Anyway, to then see him go there and not really go as well, not get as much game time, it's shit. But at the same time, I do think of it as one of them things where it can happen. You're in a good PSG team, they've got a certain way that they want to play. Him and Idrissa Gana Gueye, even though they've got similarities, there's also differences to where Gueye would be more beneficial to that side. He's a better holding player. But I do feel like he's still got potential to work there. If not, say if he goes in the summer, which I don't know if he will, just because he is on extortionate amount of money, and with the fact he was being underpaid, in my opinion, at Liverpool, I think now he's just sort of looking at these next, I think it's 4 years that he's got a contract there, 3 years. He's just going to bank it out. And he's achieved a lot in his career. He's achieved everything that he's really going to achieve. And he's going to achieve even more there, even if it's on the bench. So I do think he's going to stay at PSG. But for his playing career, I don't know how it goes. Because who's to say PSG won't spend more, boys? Who's to say they're not going to go out and buy the next hot shit in midfield? I don't know who it is. Like Camavinga, even though he's at Real Madrid. Bellingham, I don't know. But they're going to buy someone amazing for that position.
He's trying to make me cry, Steve. He's trying to make me cry.
No,
mate, I don't know why. I
don't
know why he would do that to you. You know, I don't know why he would.
The violin, you know.
Yeah, a little.
Oh, because the Jude Bellingham, sorry, Craig.
I'm absolutely amazed that there's anybody who's a Liverpool supporter that's watched any games the last 5 years that can even put even the slightest bit of doubt on the notion that he's a legend. Like in those the last sort of 4 or 5 years when we've achieved everything we have, like how many of those really, really, really big games has he not been picked for? Like very few. And the one that he wasn't picked for, Barcelona, he comes on at half time and scores 2. He was one of, without going back over too much of the stuff we got into, an awful lot last year. He was one of the first names on the team sheet in every big game. Every time Jurgen Klopp was picking what you thought was his gun team, like his team to do a job on that day, he was in it, wasn't he? So yeah, no question. And I think you're absolutely right that he wasn't paid the respect he deserves, probably by an awful lot of people, probably us as well.
Here we go, James. There's a super chat. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Straight into it. Hey, Craig and James. Steve, I'll add you into this because you're somebody with a professional podcasting background as well. Trying to start up his own LFC channel, John Moore, LFC Belfast chats, and he wants to know any advice.
So, the first piece of advice that I would say, my mate, is first of all, try and do something that is maybe a little bit of outside the box of what everyone else does, because one thing that's very saturated is the likes of watch-alongs and stuff, and if you can try and just make it a little bit different, then I think you're giving yourself a better advantage. But number one thing, have fun with it. Do you get what I'm saying? I always advise people who are new into this, try and be innovative, try and create your own ideas, and on top of this, from your favourite YouTubers, take bits and whatnot, and then implement it into your content, and make it your own thing, but make sure you enjoy doing it. Don't burn yourself out doing it, and just enjoy the ride, because I think the best process of the YouTube world, as someone who hasn't really gone too far in it themselves, is the bit where you're growing, so just enjoy it.
Look at that. He's a wise man. He's a wise man.
He spent a tenner, lads. He spent a tenner, so I had to put a bit of effort into it, you know what I mean?
I think personality is massively important. Like, you've got to be, I think you're right in like picking things that other people do. It's the same in podcasting world, picking things other people do. But one of the, really important things is to be yourself as well.
Be authentic.
And be authentic, because people will see through, you pretending to be someone else. You pretending to, mimicking, something that's already been successful. That's successful because they are that person. Not particularly because of what they do quite often. So, yeah, and I think you don't want to go into it thinking I've got to hit this number of people or this whatever. Just go into it, have a bit of fun, and see where it takes you.
Of course.
I think what both guys have said is spot on as well. And what I'd add to that is just know your audience and respect your audience, because that they're going to be the ones that you enjoy interacting with. They're going to be the ones that back you, and they're going to be the ones that some of my favourite streams were ones where we had 20 people in the chat in the early days that were 3.5 hours long. And just, as James said, enjoy the process and have fun. Because if you're not having
3.5 hours long.
Yeah. My streams were all about every night 3.5 hours.
That's a long old time.
Yeah, it was. The hours in. Yeah, but I think it was. If you're gonna make mistakes, I would say make them early like that. So and watch back, Steve. They were crap, mate. They were horrendous. I was so. I
never watch back or listen back to anything I do. Never, ever, ever.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
I understand it. I understand it as well, but just enjoy it, as James said. That's the main thing.
Yeah,
Gents,
100%.
There's a couple of things in the title of tonight's stream that I think we should probably have a chat about. One of them being Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Now, Steve, we were talking before we came on air, and this comes from a reputable source.
It does, yeah. I've seen it from John Cross, and John is a good contacts with Arsenal, particularly. He's a big Arsenal fan, but he's a good one. He's a pretty reliable source, is John. I think he probably isn't saying anything that we probably couldn't have guessed. If you're Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, you probably aren't going to be that happy with the amount of game time that you've had, towards the back end of last season and this season as well, because he's been fit, hasn't he? He's been fit for a while now, and he's not really
since February.
Yeah, and he hasn't really hit anything like the run of games he was getting before he got injured. The argument, I guess, against that is that he's not hit the levels he was hitting before he got injured either. In terms of quality, because before he got injured, think about the player that he was becoming. He was getting to the point where he was one of the first names on the team sheet, really, wasn't he? There was
17, 18. Yeah,
maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but right before he got injured, he scored the goals against City in the league, in the Champions League, and he was absolutely flying, wasn't he? And that injury, we shouldn't. There's injuries and there's injuries, aren't there? Like that injury was full knee reconstruction, but also the hamstring. I think the hamstring had come away from the knee. He had to have, full hamstring repair as well. It was a proper injury. We're talking career-ending injuries here. So even the fact that he's back and he's anything like his old self is pretty remarkable. But I've always got the impression that Klopp's got a real soft spot for him, because I think he's a good lad to have in the dressing room. But what is he, 27, 28 now probably? He needs to play, doesn't he? He needs to play for his his international career. He isn't getting back in the England squad, playing 5 or 10 minutes here and there as he wants to play every week. And he's probably, I'm a big fan of his, and I think he's probably worthy of a few more chances than he's had, I would say.
In pre-season, I didn't mind the look of him in that false nine in one of the games. I thought he looked impactful there, particularly because
that's why he left Arsenal, though, isn't it? Because he was getting shoved around in all these different positions. He's becoming like a utility kind of player, and he doesn't. I get the impression he probably did well. I imagine he's not too keen on that.
I agree with you. I think he's not too keen on that, but I think when you get to a point in Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's career where you are on the other side of that hill, whether you like it or not, he's probably still got maybe 5 years left in the game, but still he's played more than what he's got left. And the point that I'm trying to get to is that with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, he's in a great Liverpool team, and if you're in a great side like that, then really you shouldn't be so picky, in my opinion. And obviously Oxlade, he's his own man, he's his own player, he's allowed to say and do whatever the fuck he wants. I'm not caring about what I have to say about it. Either way, I just think do what you can to be in the team, whether it is a false nine or whatever, and try and do it to the best of your ability. For me personally, and I love the man, I think he's great for the dressing room and whatnot, but in terms of playing and what he offers to the squad, I would not be upset to see him leave. I really, really wouldn't. And I know the squad depth is narrow, and of course I'm thinking we'd need to bring in a replacement for him, but I just think the time is up for Oxlade-Chamberlain in terms of getting a first team spot, because he's not better than Henderson in terms of importance to the side. He's not better than Thiago, because we know if Thiago's fit, he's going to get the running games. You've now got Harvey Elliott breaking in the door when he's fit. Curtis Jones has just had a few great performances. Like, where's the room for someone who, as you said, Steve, and I 100% agree, wants more game time, he wants to play football. He's not going to get that at Liverpool Football Club right now. And even if we change him to a full-back, or we change him to a winger or a striker, whatever it is, he certainly won't be playing in midfield, I'll tell you that. And I agree, Steve, he wants to play in that position. And I actually think someone like Newcastle, I know it's a bit mad with the fact they've been in the lose loads, but why not? With the rebuilding process, someone like Oxlade-Chamberlain, as we've said, he's been fit since February.
The Geordies love him.
I wouldn't like him. Man. I wouldn't like him to. I don't want him to go. We talk about, like you just said it, like the squad depth all the time, don't we? There's no reason to let these boys go unless they're absolutely desperate, Steve, to go.
I hear what you're saying, but for a player who is on north of 100 grand a week, hasn't, besides 17, 18, in my opinion at least, offered that much to Liverpool. He had another season where he was okay as well, but to earn that much money and then pass up on the opportunity of possibly replacing Oxlade-Chamberlain with another player, whether that's a youth player or someone to bring in as a transfer, I just think it'd be better to let him go because you've still got Naby Keita, you've still got Thiago, who are around the same age. Don't you think it'd be better to maybe start to rebuild opposed to trying to stick with them just because they've gave us great memories? Like, I don't know. I think Gini was different.
I think
Gini was different because he kept on proving to us consistently. He was reliable, he was great, whereas Ox is just a little bit different, if that makes sense.
I see what you're saying, but I mean, obviously, look, the coaches and stuff and Jurgen Klopp, they know a lot more than we do. That's why they pay the big bucks. They're seeing these guys every day in training. They're seeing all their numbers, their stats, all the data that goes into the players now. But I'm sure that he's looking at it in the same way as this. But if I was him and I'm looking at it from the outside thinking the same, he's probably, with all the midfield chopping and changing, Curtis Jones coming in, Harvey Elliott getting injured, Thiago being injured, Keita being permanently injured, he's probably looking at it thinking, I deserved a couple of games in there. I deserve maybe 2 or 3, because I feel like he's the sort of player that needs 2, 3, 4 games to get into the rhythm, get into the run of things. And he hasn't really had that. But then, like I say, the reason why he's not had that is obviously because the manager's not picking him, and he knows a lot more than we do about what he wants out of him. So it's a tricky one. I'm in no rush to see him leave. I really like him. I think he at worst he's a good squad player.
I think the biggest
Craig,
problem
you're the tiebreaker now, Craig. So what would you do?
I think the biggest problem Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain has right now in the team is what can he offer that somebody else can't. And I see Curtis Jones doing what Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain can do, which is run at people, shoot from distance, provide that burst into the penalty area, be quite clever in and around the box. He's younger, he's on less wages, he's hungrier, he's scouse. So for me, I would sell him. I have to say, I think we have enough that I would sell him if it meant we could bring in another player. What we don't have enough of in midfield is goals, and he gives you a goal threat a lot more than pretty much all of the midfielders do. I'd say if he played a season, he'd score 10 league goals. Who are you dropping to put him in?
Well, I'm not dropping anybody, but there's a lot of rotation in that midfield, isn't there?
Not really.
You just said he needs a run of games, so he needs 3, 4, 5 games. He's not going to get that.
I like
Steve,
Jones,
can I just add one more point?
Go on, yeah.
Or do you want to finish your point first?
No, go on, mate.
You go for it. And I apologise about that, Steve. Mate, I just want to say dead quick that with Oxlade-Chamberlain, you've got Naby Keita there, who is one younger than Oxlade-Chamberlain, had a very similar injury record. Not really one outweighs the other. He's younger. He's way more priced than Oxlade-Chamberlain. You've got to remember, Naby Keita was a pricey player. Was he the 3rd highest in Liverpool's history? I'm not too sure. Either way, big boy signing. So you've got him there. You've got Curtis Jones. Obviously, Harvey Elliott is out. So right now, Oxlade-Chamberlain is beneficial. But we're really talking about January, most likely the summer, to let him go. By then, Harvey Elliott's back. You've got Curtis Jones. Hopefully, you've got a fit Thiago. Then you've got Naby Keita, who, again, similar record, but younger, more money. Where is the space there? And you like Oxlade-Chamberlain, as Craig does, because I know me saying that I want him to go doesn't mean I don't like him at all. I think he's a great player, but we've got to look at the squad for what it is. And if you like him as well, then you should want him to get more game time, Steve. And he's I'm just in no. I'm in no rush to see anybody leave. And we've talked about the squad depth all the time, haven't we? To a blue in the face, we talk about the squad, the number in terms of numbers, but in terms of quality as well, and the drop off. I don't, unless he bangs on Jurgen Klopp's door and says I want to go, right? And if that's the case, then you say, all right, 20 million quid. Whoever wants him, off you go. Wish you all the best. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Yeah. But if he's not agitating to go, if he's happy to work hard, keep working and training, try and win his place in that team, in that squad. If he's happy with the rotation, if he's happy with a few games here and there, I'm in no rush to see him go. Well,
we all agree that this squad is going to need freshening up in the next window or two with regards to bringing... We have a lot of players who are 29, 30, 31 right now. Some of them renewed their contract, some of them haven't. So I think that, for me, if we could bring in somebody like... is it Tuchemani from Monaco that we've been linked with, or Pedri, or some Jude Bellingham, anybody like a younger 21.
Just chucking a name out there.
I love the way I went
off
from
top
20
of my
million
head
for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain to 80 million there for Jude Bellingham, and just thought that was fine. That'll free up the space. Your FSC are known for
I'd sell anybody for Jude, but I'd sell my leg for Jude Bellingham. You know, I'd sell anything for Jude Bellingham. The guy is like
Insane.
going to be an absolute superstar if he isn't already.
Insane.
You know, we're talking about one of the best midfielders in the world in 2 or 3 years' time. Absolutely, no doubt. And
Or that kid
which is
Anthony
why,
as well.
which is
Another-
why.
Gravenberch.
Oh,
Probably
Anthony, he's the one that I had one from Ajax. Anthony, because I don't even think it's Anthony. I think it's Anthony. Insane. Like, he's a proper old school baller, like a real individual. Do you like the way nowadays it's more systematic? And you've still got good individuals, but if you compare them to the individuals back in the day, it just weren't. It didn't click the same. It clicks with Anthony, so I think he'd be good in our squad. I'm not going to lie to you. I think he'd be great in any squad, hence why I want him in ours.
I go into every single stream now saying no transfer talk. I'm not going to do it. Everybody's sick
I'm
about
not
it.
doing it to myself.
Within 10 minutes, here we are going.
Don't do it.
We
to
want
yourself,
Bellingham,
mate.
we want Anthony. No, we want all that. But we should be able to get. We should be able to be in the conversation for at least one of them, and we're not. We're not in the conversation for Haaland. We're not in the conversation for Pedri. We're not in the conversation for Bellingham. I don't care what people say. I know there's these links, but mate, we need to let one big player go to bring in Bellingham. Like, that's the only way we do it, and I don't know if that's how we do it. But listen, we can play. We can play. Do you know what I mean?
I think what we'll all agree on is right now we're in a pretty damn good place. You know, top of the Champions League group, 1 point off the top of the league table. You know, no major injury concerns outside, of course, of Harvey Elliott's injury. And even what gives me a bit of happiness, Steve, is seeing how well Divock Origi and Kimi Minamino have played in the little cameos. That genuinely has lifted my spirits because I'd written both of them off.
Yeah,
And
but
I
this is
just
what.
see-
Yeah, but this is what I was saying last week. You know, when the team's playing well, they're perfectly okay as supplementing. You know what's already going well. It was the problem was last year when they were forced. You know, they were coming in. Actually, well, not Minamino because he was off on loan, wasn't he? But Origi and Shaqiri and stuff were coming in, and they weren't able to turn around a ship that was sinking fast. You know, they weren't able to kind of arrest the problem. But yeah, coming in as look, Minamino. We all watched that game at Anfield, didn't we? When he was unbelievable. Like there's clearly a player in there, like no doubt at all. He's another one in the kind of Oxlade-Chamberlain category. I'm in no rush to see Minamino go. Like Origi probably, you know, if the right offer came in, he probably isn't at the right level. But
Hey,
yeah,
Steve,
Minamino.
do you think Minamino gets a little bit more slack because he only cost 7.5 million, whereas, you know, Ox
100%.
cost to go to 40 million quid?
Yeah, 100%. And he's not been at the club for that long. I think we've seen Jurgen Klopp signings over the last 5 years. You know, not very rarely go straight into the side, have we? You know, there haven't been that many that have gone straight in. You know, the big ones like Salah and Van Dijk and Alisson and stuff went straight in. But even guys like Fabinho, don't forget, you know, it took a little bit of time to settle. God, he's got something.
That's true. Nah, that's true. And I just want to give like a different perspective because I know you, Steve, like you're someone who likes to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I actually think that's like a great quality. Me, I'm not as generous sometimes. I have like a very sort of limited mindset. So like there is times where I might jump on a gun too soon. And one of the guns that I jumped on last season was Minamino just isn't good enough. And maybe that was premature. But like, do you know what it was for me? It was when we played Aston Villa under 18s and he just got bullied, lad. And I'm thinking to myself, if you're getting bullied by these under 18s, how are you going to cope in the Premier League? Again, very reactionary because since then he's had some good games for us, Southampton, etc. But the reason why I wouldn't put him in the same category as I put on Oxlade-Chamberlain is because Ox came in and he done very well straight away, whereas Minamino never. Does that make sense? Like, Oxlade made a statement to go into that team straight away, 0 fucks given, and just said, I deserve to be here. Steven Gerrard's my idol. I will make sure I play like him. And for a second there, for a very, very small second, we saw glimpses, goal against City, etc. Minamino, I don't think he's had that same sort of impact so early on.
No,
so I think that's why so many people have jumped on. And also, he's not like 19. He's not like a 19-year-old. He is like 25, which is still young, but it's not prospect. Does that make sense? And for Liverpool, if you want your backup wingers to be of quality, you want them to be someone, you know, if you look at what Man City have got, it's very unrealistic. Even Manchester United, though, youngsters are there to try and earn a spot in a top team. Do you know what I'm saying? So I just think maybe there's differences, but I understand what you're saying as well. But now my perspective has changed on Minamino. I feel like now I will give him a little bit of a chance, mainly because we can't buy any players, but also I actually think he has looked a little bit decent in recent games as well. So
it's interesting. Look, we're still no further along, Steve, on the Mohamed Salah contract saga, and it is a saga. Every single week it goes by because it's.
Why are we talking about it again, Craig? I don't want to.
I wish we didn't have to, mate. I wish we could just put it to bed and go, well, that's
Craig,
great. We signed that new deal, but every week it goes by, it's going to happen.
Just bell FSG and say, listen, mate, like, sort this out. They'll listen to you. They won't listen to me. You know what I mean? They'll be like, who the fuck's this guy with a fringe? They'll take you seriously. You know what I mean? You're in a big boy film. You're in Despicable Me, lab. Who am I? Do you know what I mean? I've got a meme. You know what I mean? Steve ran a marathon, which is great, but they don't care about marathons. They don't care. They care about you. You're a big superstar. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you need to talk to
myself, John Oliver, Daniel Craig, the three Hollywood legends. It's a fair point you made, James. I mean, I can't argue. Steve, look, here's the way I look at it. And here's the way I try and rationale this whole situation, because I understand as fans we want the sun, moon and stars and we don't care about money. But every way I look at this, so if you look at it from his age, Mohamed Salah's contract runs till he's 31. Give him another 4 years till he's 35. I think we'll all agree here that he's going to be playing at a high level because of his physique, fitness and the way he looks after himself at 35. So from that point of view, give him a contract. From the point of view of protecting the investment, because every single week, month that goes by now, his value's going down. If you sign him on a new contract, even if the owners don't plan on keeping him till he's 35, 36, it protects the value of the asset. Because a 32-year-old Mohamed Salah is still going to be worth a lot of money in this day and age. So I can't see any way it doesn't make sense, Steve.
Well, yeah, and because of all the things you just said, I have every faith that anybody with half a brain at Liverpool Football Club thinks the same thing. Because how can they not? And I think it's going to be sorted in the next week or two, I reckon.
Say swear.
Hey?
Say swear. Nah, Steve can't get me excited. Like, you said that like you know someone. I'm not asking for specifics.
I'd pinky swear if I was with you.
Oh my days. Yeah, lock it though. You've got to lock it.
I think it's going to be sorted. I think it's going to be sorted.
Okay. I'm going to take your word for that. Because I need to sleep at night. I haven't slept for weeks knowing that this isn't going to be done. You know what I'm saying?
You just can't imagine that it won't be, can you? If there's desire on all sides. Like, the only way it's not getting sorted is if he doesn't want to stay. That's it.
Do you know what's mad? And this goes to both of you, by the way. Do you know what's crazy about this situation? Like, obviously, to us, it's insane of the idea, and the chat as well will know, it's insane of the idea of letting what is right now on current form, the best player in the world, you know, doing insane stuff, and we're not giving him a contract with the brand exposure that he gives us, with the consistency and the reliability that the player gives us, and he's still got a lot left in the tank. Yet, let's look through the track record, baby. Right? Luis Suarez left the club when he was basically the best player in the world on form. Phil Coutinho, in my opinion, he was the best player. Obviously, great things happened after what proceeded, so I'm not saying it was wrong. But Coutinho, at the time he left, was the best player on form. In my opinion, in the league, he was insane that season.
Yeah.
In the little 6 months that he had with Salah, Mane and Firmino. Something that I would have liked to see more, by the way. Even when you talk about like other times gone by, I mean, Steven Gerrard was this close to going. And it was only because of a little bit of backlash from Liverpool fans pulling our fella in, saying, no, don't go to the dark side, man. Thankfully, we kept him, but that was this close to being done. That was all under different owners, to be fair. But even under FSG, you know, Fernando Torres, who, again, very lucky that it turned out the way it did, but we sold him. Like, there is a pattern there about letting the best players go. Does that make sense? So, Steve, I am praying to the Lord Jesus himself, like all the gods. I'm praying to all of them to say, please keep Mo Salah. But when you see that pattern, I mean, I don't know what you think about it, boys, but there's a pattern there. So
I thought we were told those days were over, though, Steve, weren't we? That was the spiel we were given. You know, the days of selling our best and brightest at their peak of their powers are over. We're keeping these guys here. And look, people speak about 29 like it was 29 in 1980. 29 now is 25. Yeah. You know, particularly when you look after yourself like Mo Salah does. As James said, he's got muscles on muscles.
Mate, he is ripped. I as I've said to you before, when I was very kindly invited to Melwood after Rachel died. I gave him a cuddle, and the lad is ripped. His shoulders, I couldn't fit my arm around.
Did you pinch his arse? Go on.
I didn't pinch his ass. No, I was peachy, but no. Yeah, there's a difference though between Salah and Suarez particularly, because that's the most, well, Coutinho as well. We needed the money to rebuild, didn't we? Whereas now we've got a phenomenal team. You know, for Coutinho, they needed a top keeper. We needed to bring in Van Dijk. We needed to bring in, you know, various players. Same with Luis Suarez. Obviously, you know, we didn't spend the money that well, but we needed the money in to do stuff with it. We don't really need it now.
But the coaches at the time, and the thing is, we kind of do need the money, otherwise we would have spent in the transfer window just gone a little bit more than what we did, in my opinion. And the thing about them coaches, and this is something that should be sort of, we've got to point out at FSG, Klopp wanted to keep Coutinho. He did. Like, that was known. Well, actually, when Coutinho started to rumble on even more that he wanted to leave because of his agents and whatnot, that was when Klopp was like, all right, then, if you don't want to be here, then we don't want you. But before that, it was a player that he wanted to keep, and then it was ended up being sold. You know, Suarez, Brendan Rodgers would have wanted to keep Suarez, no doubt. Like, if the manager wants to keep them, I know you want to do a rebuilding process, but should you listen to the manager opposed to trying to make a decision where you have to then replace that player? And it doesn't always... It worked out with Van Dijk and Alisson, but it didn't really work out when we sold Suarez. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. The other thing is that I'm a big believer that every player's got a value. Like every player's got a value. Like, so look, when Luis Suarez went, everyone was sad to go, but at the time, that was massive, you know, massive money, wasn't it? When Phil Coutinho went, everybody went, you know, absolutely gutted to see him go, but what a fee. You know, like, you're putting statues up.
We got a lot of money.
You know, that is a lot of money. And yeah, there'd be a price for Mo Salah, wouldn't there? I mean, no player is priceless. If someone came in and offered 200 million quid, probably some heads would be turned, and understandably so. But I mean, the other thing is, who's offering 200 million quid for him at the moment? There's no one, is there, really?
The only thing I can think of, Steve, is if Real Madrid really want Mbappe in January and pay for the lad. Now, they could wait. They know they're going to get him in the summer, but there has been talk that they might want them. If they were to come in and, let's say, pay in excess of 100 million quid for Mbappe off PSG, then maybe Pochettino and the PSG board look at Mohamed Salah as the option.
Well, if he's not signed a contract by then possibly, because I think if he's not signed a contract by January, then there's a reason, isn't there? There's a problem. You know, there's something on either side. There's an issue with either the club not wanting to pay him what he wants, or there's an issue with him not wanting to sign a contract. So, but yeah, like I say, I'm pretty sure it'll get done. I reckon.
Here's one for you guys. So Newcastle have been taken over this week, and I read a really good piece on the Athletic.
Have they been taken over?
Have you not heard, Steve? No, they've taken over. They've won the
honestly, it's not been in the news or anything.
They've signed everybody. There's been no human rights issues whatsoever. It's all great. But look, here's the interesting thing. It was a really good piece in The Athletic, actually, and I was reading about it. And they were talking about, okay, so Liverpool are valued at over 2 billion quid, United valued at 3 billion quid. But nobody's ever paid any of these valuations. So if you're a foreign investor coming in, like Saudi Arabia or Qatar or, you know, an investment fund or a venture capital fund, you come in to buy a club, you're not going to look at a club like Liverpool at 2.5 billion quid. Whereas you can, like, yes, you may increase that asset a small bit, but if you go and buy Newcastle for 300 million quid, or as John W. Henry did, buy Liverpool at 280 or 300 million quid, the tenfold increase is there to be had if you get it right. Coming in and buying Liverpool, Steve, is only an attractive option, in my opinion, if the Super League type of ideas are still on the table.
It's a Newcastle one. It's probably worth having a little chat about that. From our point of view, it's fascinating, isn't it? Because, you know, everyone's expecting Newcastle to be basically winning the Premier League next year, and you're buying Mbappe and you know, Van Dijk and Salah and everybody else, you know. And it didn't happen like that for City, did it? You know, City bought
like 5 years, 6 years.
Well, City bought Robinho, didn't they, as their kind of big signing? But they had Mark Hughes in place, and that kind of went, you know, really badly wrong.
They bought Joao from Man United, didn't he? He
Yeah,
thought
just
he
went-
signed for Man United, I swear. I think when he got
That
there,
just
he was
went-
like, oh, genuinely.
that
didn't
just
know.
went really wrong, and then Robinho came in as their kind of token massive signing, and that kind of went wrong. And what people don't realise, and what people are kind of missing with Newcastle, is that they are miles away. They are not 5 or 6 players, good players away from being a top team. They are 15 players away from being a top team. They are absolutely
their goal now
miles
is to
away.
avoid relegation this season. Their goal is to be in the Premier League next season.
Mate, I heard a
If they
Newcastle
get
fan
relegated,
talking-
that'll be the funniest thing ever. Craig's
Craig's
gone,
gone.
but like, if they honestly, Steve, if they get relegated, that will be the most hilarious thing to possibly ever happen in football. Genuinely,
I saw a guy, a Newcastle fan on 5 Live the other day, and he was saying, honestly, I only keep like 4 players. He keeps Sam Maximum. He keep Joe Willock. He keep Callum Wilson, and somebody else, and like 3 or 4 players he would keep, and the rest he's binning off. So you're basically binning off a squad, 20 players, because you think they're not good enough, and you're expecting that to turn around in a year or two. That's going to take 10 years. It'll be a lot of fun to watch, but it'll take.
It'll be
them
like
10
a
years
real
to
life
get
career
anywhere.
mode. A lot of people have compared it to a real life FIFA career mode, and I think that's bang on
Yeah,
because
with a cheat,
you know,
with a cheat code.
yeah, with a cheat code and where you can just adjust the budget a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I just think I do not see Callum Wilson taking or firing Newcastle to a top 4. I do not see Joe Willock doing that, even though he's done very well so far. I don't see any of their players other than Saint Maximin. He's the only player who I have faith can be in a top European side and do a good job. Otherwise, nobody in that squad for me. Maybe the goalkeeper as well. He's sounds, I guess, but otherwise, there's nobody in that team that injects fear into me. Like, if John Joe Shelby actually ended up being what John Joe Shelby could have done, then maybe I'd be a little bit scared. Otherwise, no, he's just a reject Voldemort looking ass motherfucker. Do you know what I mean? I'm big up to a man like John Joe Shelby because he's sound, lad. You know, he's probably custy, but he never became as good as what he should have became in terms of the potential that he had. Because on the ball, John Joe Shelby's great. So there's nobody in that team that injects fear into me. The only player I'd take out of that team is Saint Maximin, and I'd say you get him, but he's got like a 7-year contract there, so he must have knew. Like, yeah, you're getting dough soon, aren't you? So I'll take this contract and then I'll stay. Oh, mate, it's
one thing I heard, Steve, is that before the deal had even been fully ratified, Coutinho's agents were on the blower.
I bet
to
they
Newcastle.
were. I bet they were. I mean, I imagine it's the last club left that his agents have been on the blower too. You know, they've been desperate to get him out of Barca for, you know, last a couple of years, haven't they? So, and you know, I imagine they won't be too shy. The interesting thing, everyone keeps talking about FFP. They had Matt Slater from The Athletic on 5 Live talking about the fact that because of what a tight ship Mike Ashley has run, they've got a lot of leeway with FFP. They haven't spent anything like as much as they could have done. So, you know, they could spend up to 250 million quid and still be the right side of FFP.
They're going to do like a little PSG, aren't they? Like a little B-Tech PSG where they bring in loads of mad players like Coutinho and that, and like Oxlade-Chamberlain, and then they'll bring in just like crazy set. Like, who's a centre-back that's like doing okay for the clubs right now but isn't that great? Like, I'm trying
Maguire.
to think like...
Harry Maguire.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say because they still play him for some bizarre reason, but let's say, do you know Schule from Bayern Munich,
Yeah,
or whoever it may be, like, or whoever it is that's not playing, they'll just take them. Like someone who's not really playing in the side that much at the moment. I just think that's the way they're going to approach it because they can spend a bit of money. I thought it was only going to be like 90 million, something like that, but I've heard that it's like 200 million because of the FFP and whatnot. That's insane because that's going to get them a few players. But also,
more than 200 million
what type of player does it get them? What type of player? Because the mercenaries are going to be at the top of the queue right now looking for a payday.
See, that's the problem. They're more than 200
being
million
linked with the
quid
likes
away
of
from being a good team,
Martial.
though.
So I think like
Martial, that has Europa League written all over it.
That's
Bringing Martial in.
That's
Mate, they would.
That's a very
You know,
good
looking if they looked at 5 years, they'd take Europa League in 5 years. That's
Of course.
bite your hand off. Like anybody with half a brain, footballing wise, would take that in 5 years. Only people that wouldn't are the people without half a brain who think they're going to buy their way to the title in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, anybody that knows what they're talking about knows it's going to take a little bit of time because of their squad is really bad, isn't it? If they kept that squad, they could easily go down this year. Obviously, they won't. You know, go big in January, but
No, defo, I agree. If they go down, which is a possibility, that's hilarious. But there's a lot of players at Manchester United, right, that there's a big shout for them to sign. So you've got Lingard, who, let's say if West Ham don't get back interested, that's a great little team to go to. Eric Bailly, I think he'd go right into Newcastle United's team straight away and do a job. Then you've got like
Van der
Juan
Beek.
Mata. Don't tell me Van der Beek, Martial, like these type of players who haven't quite worked out there. Listen, they should just all have a little group meeting, get the band back together at Newcastle in black and white, and then just do bits there. Do you get what I'm saying? And enjoy the process, because they can like be
100%.
the start of a revolution. Because that's the way Newcastle should sell it. It's about selling a project to people and will it work. You can be the start of what made us return to our greatness. Do you like the way we had Bill Shankly and we went through the division? Like, that was boss, because even players who were in the division below and playing for us under Bill Shankly, they're legends, because without them, there's no starting point, you know what I mean? Like, you've got to start the race somewhere, boys, and we wouldn't have got to the end of the race with all the European trophies, all the league titles, all the history, without them at the starting point. So that's the way you need to sell it to these, like, to the likes of Martial, who probably right now are thinking, "Are you mad? I'm going to be going to play for Newcastle United." If you say we should be playing in the Europa League in the next 2 or 3 years, there's no big European club in for you at the moment. You're going to be playing with your mate Saint Maxi, and we're going to pay you dough. Like, it makes sense. It just makes sense.
This is the problem though, and Craig said it a minute ago about the mercenaries and the type of players, because that's the other big issue with immediately
I'd say Mina Rayola's wetting himself now, Steve.
Well, no, but like this is the issue with immediately getting Mbappe and Haaland and whatever. Those lads only want to go to a big club, don't they? They only want to go to a team that's already in the Champions League. They're not going to a team for a project. So you're either looking at one of like 2 or 3 types of players. You're looking for either the old ones who aren't playing, like Coutinho, for example. Or you're looking at the mercenaries who will only go somewhere for a bit of cash, don't really care about winning. Or you're looking for the rejects like your Martials and your Lingards. They're not going to pluck anyone from a really big team, for big money. They're just not. Like, for 5 or 6 years, that's not going to happen for a while.
And that's before we even get into the managerial situation, Steve.
Well,
which is a similar thing.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. But I mean, for a manager, it's a little different. There's a few out of work, aren't there, that would fancy a crack at that.
I mean, but they're not going to go out. I don't think Conte goes near.
Well,
I think
that's like
not now.
When you play in Championship Manager or Footy Manager or something, and you get, I used to love, leaving a team that was top of the league and going to a team that had just been relegated but had a bucket load of cash, and you could just, play the game, work your way up again. I think some managers would see that as a really exciting project.
You're just a B-Tech Guardiola, just a B-Tech Guardiola.
Mate, some managers would see, but I heard 3 names the other day: Antonio Conte, Eddie Howe, and Steven Gerrard. I mean, Eddie Howe. How are you putting Eddie Howe and Antonio Conte in the same category of manager? That's mad, isn't it? That's mad.
That's a joke.
But yeah. If you were Steven Gerrard, you might fancy a crack at that, though. I don't think that would be a bad.
We mentioned that, didn't we, Craig?
I don't think it'd be a bad gig.
It'd be a lovely bridge as well to the Liverpool job, Steve.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a bad gig. You get blank checks for whoever you want. He'd be a big pull for some of those players that might think twice about joining the team that wasn't doing well. But I guess same with Conte. If they can get a big manager in, that's half their job done with attracting players, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a huge task. That's why when you see the likes of Eddie Howe, or even Graham Potter, who's an excellent young coach, he doesn't have the pull. You need
that's
a name like
never happened.
Zidane, Gerrard, even a Lampard, somebody who has a bit of clout within the game.
Yeah, 100%.
Boys, where would you say? And I'm only comparing it because this does relate to Liverpool in many, many ways, because Newcastle, undoubtedly, if I said to you over 10 years ago, Manchester City are going to go ahead and do this dominance over the next 10, you're probably not going to believe me, because especially you guys who know City and their history a lot more than I do, it's just it's not that big of a deal. Newcastle actually have a bit of history, but that's not even what I'm talking about. Like, there's a good chance that, if you look at Leicester City, and the way they've done it since they've got Brendan Rodgers, where would you say Leicester City were ranked? They were probably a mid-table Premier League side before Rodgers came into the job. Now we establish them for fighting top 4 every season, and that was quick because they fight for top 4 every single season, pretty much since Brendan Rodgers has came in. So I just think we talk about how it could be 5 years till they get the Europa League, but you just never know with the right signings, and even though we might not rate, and with the right coach as well, because if you get a Graham Potter and give him players that he most certainly wants, then I feel like you can make something work there, because I think he's a top coach. Same with Steven Gerrard as well, and his coaching staff, because Gerrard has got amazing coaching staff that I think would do well at most teams in the world. And you give them what they want. Yeah, that's just for me. I think
that's
he could even get there sooner.
That's the other route they could go down, isn't it? Like the less Hollywood route. You bring in Graham Potter, and then you're thinking along the Brighton kind of route. Guys like Lewis Dunk. Some of like the less heralded, but the guys that get 8 out of 10s every week, the guys that are solid Premier League players, you could probably pick 6 or 7 of them up for 200 million quid, couldn't you? I mean, Lingard probably falls into that as well. But there's quite a few of them that are. I'm trying to think, Tyrone Mings maybe, or John McGinn, at Aston Villa. Some of these lads that are really good, really good Premier League players. You could probably get them for good money. And
Oxlade-Chamberlain, like.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting, but it doesn't worry me in terms of like a challenge to Liverpool in the immediate future. I think we're looking at 4 or 5 years, because they are, they're further down, further back than City were when they were taken over. City were a decent side when they take over. Newcastle are not a decent side.
One quick announcement actually ahead of the weekend game. I don't know if you guys seen today. John Moss, the referee for the game against Watford. I think Paul Tierney on VAR, if my memory's correct on that one.
Oh, mate.
Watford
terrifies. Well, John Moss is awful, but Watford terrifies me after what happened. At the end of the big winning run.
Yeah, we were talking about this.
Don't worry, they're just a bullshit. They're just a bullshit bogey team like Crystal Palace was. We'll wipe them. We'll bite them to the shard. Sorry, Craig.
I was just going to say, we were talking the other day, myself and James, about the new manager bounce and how we're almost jinxed with teams getting new managers just before we play them. And now Ranieri, obviously replacing Cisco at Watford, and a 12:30 kickoff, and no Alisson, and no Fabinho, and potentially no Jota, which we haven't really spoken about. He picked up a knock while away with Portugal, or didn't even train, I think, while away with Portugal, carrying a knock.
No, he played in a game.
Did he play against Qatar?
He might have got a knock in the game, if that's what you're on about, but I do believe I saw Jota get a chance. Do correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, though, people, because I might be wrong there, but I think when I was watching the highlights, I saw him. But again, I
remember seeing something about him not training, let's say after the Qatar game anyway, and them being a bit of a doubt about whether he's fit or not. But my thought was, Steve, look, if he was clearly injured, he'd be back at Liverpool by now. He'd be back at Kirby, and he'd be Liverpool. I haven't
heard that. But you could be right. Is Thiago fit? Do we know?
I've heard Trent or Thiago is coming back. One of them, like they're fifth.
Have you not been stalking Thiago, Steve? No,
he wasn't at football on Saturday.
There you go.
You haven't had this, James. So my little boy goes to football at a football club close to where I live, and Thiago's kid is in the same class.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, is his kid good at footy?
He's really good. He's tiny. Absolutely tiny.
Yeah, I've saw. It sounds mad. Like I've saw photos of him, but I've saw pictures of Thiago. Funnily enough, like today or yesterday with his family, and I saw him with his daughter and his son, and I was like, his son's definitely going to be a saucy baller. We need to try and get him in the academy.
Yeah, no, he's good. He's what's he called, Gabby or something.
Yeah, he'll be a baller if you're related to Thiago and he's teaching you the technique that he possesses.
Yeah,
his son's going to be saucy.
Yeah, he wasn't there on Saturday. He's away, I think. He's been on holiday, hasn't he, from his Instagram or his social media. But I hope he's back, because that's the game away at Leeds was inspired picking Thiago, wasn't it? A few people were like, he can't handle the pace, but actually he's handled teams like that for the last 10 years just by putting his foot on the ball and being cleverer than them, and by calming it all down. And that's exactly what we might need against Watford. Watford will come, flying at us, won't they? They'll come all guns blazing, and you got to sort of calm that down for 10 minutes, and then he's perfect for that.
Is Curtis Jones injured?
He was with under 20. He wasn't. Lee Carty was talking about him. He was saying that he wasn't going to risk him if at all possible. But I don't know.
Oxlade-Chamberlain. Ox he got a chance.
I don't mind that. But like, it's a repeat now. We're getting into that stage where it's a problem. So we've got to worry about Jota. We've got to worry about Thiago. We've got to worry about Trent. We've got to worry about, we just said, Curtis Jones. Like, I don't like this. And then you're relying on the likes of Naby Keita, of all players, to replace these people. You're relying on even Harvey Elliott's injury, which we forgot about because that's a long-term injury. Like, Oxlade-Chamberlain,
no Fabinho, no Alisson.
No Fabinho, no Alisson, because these problems can pop up in a COVID world. Are we best prepared for these situations? It doesn't look like we are, and I feel like that's only... Maybe I'm being reactionary. By all means, comment it down below, because maybe I am. But I'm only being reactionary because I want to win things this season. And I saw last season the problems we had, and then I saw us go out in a summer transfer window where we could have capitalised, got a little bit of squad depth, made more money than what we saw, and we didn't capitalise. We bought one player in, where if we didn't buy that player, it would have been uproar because we needed a centre-back. So, I don't know, boys. I'm frustrated seeing this list already this early in the season. It's crazy to me.
I don't think other than Elliott, they're not, hopefully not long-term as well. They're only a couple of weeks here and there. So
even Firmino just had an injury as well.
Yeah, I get your point. I get your point.
Post-international break to me only means one thing. We're going to see James Milner.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, why not, eh?
If he plays
why
in the midfield, I'm alright with that, you know what I'm saying? But I just... I don't know if I like James Milner versus Sarr. I don't know.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying he would have been at Melville or Kirby, for the entire time training. Left behind. Obviously, Joe Matip, but fully expect him to be playing the game as well. Verge was playing tonight, so he should be all right if he just can get through with a knock. So, Trent probably coming back. Robertson on absolute fire with Scotland with a great win against Israel the other day as well.
2 assists.
People out their World Cup hopes, yeah. So it's not all doom and gloom. Queeveen Kelleher is going to play for Ireland tomorrow in a friendly against Qatar.
We should have plenty to beat. In playing Watford, haven't they got? I was reading. Haven't they got like the lowest XG in the league or something? They don't create chances, don't score goals. I'm jinxing it. I'm jinxing it.
Prime Ronaldinho, and then we'll be linked with him again. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Different. I don't know. Not different this year, because that time we lost, we'd won about 150 games on the trot, haven't we? And we still got beat by them.
We got bullied by them that day. Absolutely bullied. That's the phrase I'd use. Yeah, just absolutely ran off the pitch. There was one more thing before we finish up tonight, gents. Again, there was been is it Fajajes? I don't know how you pronounce it. A Spanish publication that linked us to a loan move for Joao Felix. But they also spoke about the fact that any potential loan move would put Jurgen Klopp off because he'd want an option or an obligation to buy at the end of it. How much bullshit is this, Steve?
Well, I went on to said Spanish website and I translated as best I could the translation. It basically had a piece saying Joao Felix is either thinking of leaving or they want to ship him out on loan or something. And then there was a subheading and it had possible destinations, and it had Juventus, and it said Juventus are basically rubbish. Ronaldo's gone. They need a forward. Then it said Inter Milan, similar kind of thing. And then it said Liverpool, basically said Liverpool have got loads of old forwards, so they might be in the market for a young one. I didn't read it as being any actual, more like putting two and two together rather than actually saying we are interested in him. Look, he's a phenomenal footballer, isn't he? I think, and he's a brilliant age. He would take a hell of a bid to get him out of Atletico, given what they spent on him. And they're not going to take a big loss on him again, given his age. So, probably giving that a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, I can't see
giving it a -5.
Yeah, I can't see anything to it at all.
I'm giving it a 3 out of 10 just on the fact that probably people at Liverpool would say he's a good player.
I don't think he's lived up to his potential yet, and I still found that it was a very strange move from at the time. I just didn't see how a Diego Simeone team was going to translate from what he was playing at Benfica. It just doesn't add up to me at the time. They paid an awful lot of money, though. what was it,
110 million quid, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, 140 million euros, something like that. Yeah, it was an obscene amount of money. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, gents, that pretty much brings us to the end of the show today. I mean, another hour has absolutely flown past. So massive thank you to Mr. Steve Bland. How are you, sir? Have you anything planned for the week ahead? Anything exciting to look forward to?
Big rugby game on Friday. As you know, I work at Sale Sharks. Big rugby. We're welcoming the champions, Harlequins, on Friday night game.
Nice.
It'll be a big one.
Yes, Steve getting excited for the rugby. Do you like the way he said, like, oh, the rugby's on Saturday? I say that about the UFC. Like, oh, the UFC's on this weekend. Like, I had that similar sort of...
Yeah.
Oh, did you watch the Fury fight, lads?
I did indeed, and it was standard. I knew it was going to happen. Some way, Fury was going to win. But it was interesting, though. Wilder put on a show, mate, so... I enjoyed it. That was the best fight I've seen in a while.
I think Tyson Fury's a phenomenal boxer, but there's something about him that just does not do it for me at all. Sorry. Like, I look boxing wise, amazing. Everything else, just not interested.
Yeah, well, it was an unbelievable fight, though. To be fair, 5 knockdowns, I think, if my memory's right, in the fight at least. And one thing I have to say is, like, I don't like Wilder not shaking his hand and all that stuff, but my God, did he show heart? My God, did the man show heart? He looked
one of the
knackered.
greatest fights. He made it, like, without the opponent taking and receiving that punishment, that is not the great fight that we all talk about it to be in years' time. Because we will talk about that fight as the best of all 3. And I just think to myself, like, yeah, he put in everything for that fight. So you can say what you want about after it. Listen, he's competitive. Maybe he's a bit unhappy that he lost, and it might be a little bit sour grapes in the moment, and Fury does not have to like it, but either way you have to respect it, and you have to respect him because he done work, man, and again, it takes 2 to make one of the greatest fights of all time, and Wilder done his job, even knocking 100%. Him down 2 times out of nowhere. He just needs to touch you, and that's why this fight, in hindsight, was actually worth making, because Wilder can finish it out of nowhere, but Fury had too much heart.
Shout out to Beefy Smith as well, Liam, for his win over
Anthony
Fowler.
Fellow Kirkdale lad there. I'm actually devo for Anthony Fowler because I talked to him and he's brilliant, and I'm sure he's going to bounce back and I'm sure he's going to do great. But made up for Beefy as well, lad. He's local, he's from where I'm from, so made up.
Yeah, the Smith boys and the Rotunda Boxing Club, all legends in the city of Liverpool. I've had plenty of interactions with Paul Smith. He actually got me a signed Gerrard LA Galaxy shirt sent over, Paul Smith. And I love, again, the brothers always box with autism on their shorts as well, obviously because of their sister. But it was a great night's boxing as well in Liverpool at the weekend. So look, we'll finish it up there. Massive thank you to Mr. James Redmond. James, what have you got coming up this week on the channel, my man?
I have got, did you know what, just videos here and there, Redmond Roundups, that's a show that I do on my channel. I apologise because I am actually the reason why we were late today. I'm not going to go off the show and not own up to it. I was the reason why we were late today. So for anyone who was waiting overtime, you blame Hammers today, you let me know in the comments and whatnot. But thank you so much for bearing with me, and thank you for another great show, because it has been a great show. Thank you for having me. And yeah,
loved it.
James Redmond TV, if you want to look out for a little bit more content, my G's.
Absolutely, get over there, hit that subscribe button, and we're big fans of what James does, and of course, big fans of everything that Steve does as well. And look, Steve, you guys have been amazing, so thank you for tuning in again. Steve, I think if it's not in the link now, I'll get Connor to put it in, your Macmillan Cancer Support link from the London Marathon as well. That's so proud of you, mate, for that one. So proud of all the great stuff you do in raising awareness and stuff like that as well. And I believe it was your son's birthday recently. I know we missed it a couple of weeks, but happy birthday to your son as well. I know that one went by
about a month ago.
Yeah, well, do you know what I mean, Steve? I'm getting old.
Yeah, recently.
You know what's a month in the grand scheme of things?
What's a month between friends, eh?
There you go. There you go. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give one final shout out to our sponsors, Manscaped. Don't forget WFN 20% off. Free shipping at manscaped.com. We will be back next Monday at the same time. I'll be joined with James on Thursday. Myself and James will have another chat on Thursday. So we will chat to you then. But thank you to Steve, thank you to you guys, and thank you to James as well. Take care.